my like meditation habit has been like awful. And so I kind of restarted that 2 nights ago and have been feeling better, just like focusing on my breath, clearing my thoughts, not thinking so much. And also, like, with the neighborhood, my goal is just to like commune with more people over it. So, I reached out to some people on Reddit and I just like some posts. I just like post like questions about stuff that I would feel like would be like the starting questions to kind of get it going or try to plan it out.
What are some of those? I'm curious.
So, in the subreddit agriculture, I posted a post that was like, what were the questions? I basically phrased it like my goal is to create a small town where all the resources can be harvested from the farm. So, food, building materials, medicines, fuel. And my first question was like, how much land do you need to feed 100 people? Feed house. Have these
Mm,
resources for 100 people, for 1,000, for 10,000. And then I asked what would be like the basic list of crops that you would recommend and some other questions. But those basically like were what my questions were like. And like
yeah.
I got really varied responses, but like Reddit is really cool because people like will write you an essay, if they
Ah,
feel moved to. So I got some essays. One guy was like really nice about it, and then there was, well, I don't know the gender of any of these people, but
yeah.
one person was really nice and just thorough, and another person was really thorough but like not nice. They were like, "You're in over your head. You don't even know what you're getting yourself into.
Oh
Like this
no.
is impossible. But here's all this great information anyway. But yeah, you're out of." He was, or the person
That's
was
funny.
like, you're way out of you don't even know what you don't know. I was like, okay, I'm just asking questions. Like, I know I don't know everything. Like, I know there are things that I don't know that I don't even know. Like, I'm just trying to start asking
Some
some
people think
questions.
you're not allowed to be too curious.
Yeah. And I don't understand why also people like think you're not allowed to like dream big or at least think about it. You know what I mean? Of course. Okay, so what? What does it have to do with you if this never happens?
Yeah.
I have to just go killing dreams.
And,
But
and
yeah,
even the agriculture question is already a big question. I uh, I know there's permaculture, which has a lot of different components to it, a lot of new knowledge, and it's being actively developed in some sense. When I was in a homestead in Washington, they were developing permaculture techniques basically. They pointed out a lot of, like, each area has its own climate, which means it has its own species of plants that grow well there, plants and animals. And the knowledge of what are the best plants for an area is like ancient knowledge that has been lost because the native tribes that used to live there are gone a long time ago. They passed that down verbally. Maybe it's written down somewhere. I don't know, but there's a lot of things like that we have to discover again because
yeah.
we have monoculture farming mostly, right? Something like
Yep.
that, and that doesn't take into consideration how plants interact with each other like permaculture does.
Exactly. You're spot on. It's crazy. And it's like they're rediscovering this information, just like you said. Like they're rediscovering it. Like, a big thing in farming was like tilling the land. They said, oh, you're supposed to, basically break up the land. That's why they would have those big machines that kind of like dig up the earth, right?
Yep, yep.
And now they're understanding that that is like terrible. Like there's a whole movement called no-till farming
Yeah, I think I've heard of
because
that.
yeah, because tilling is like so destructive, which when you think about it, like just thinking about nature, it makes perfect sense. Like, would you like it if somebody just came in and blew up your house? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Every season? Like, of course you're taking out the nutrients and sucking all the good stuff out of the earth because you're not just letting it be. And that's really why like tilling is bad because all that ecosystem is being completely destroyed. You're not allowing it to like do what it needs to do. Like nowhere in nature do like you have to like dig up stuff and like
Yeah, the
completely
plants the
do that
plants
for
evolved in an environment where there's like forest floors. There
exactly.
was this constant leaf cover without any tilling.
Yep,
And all those
exactly.
microorganisms and plants and fungi will work together to create intricate web of stuff. I've heard about that.
Yeah, and that's a big part in permaculture, especially like for the forestry farming, because you can have like, your like your groves of trees, you can have almond trees and all these different types of trees, and then have like the mushrooms and even like stuff like asparagus and stuff like that growing on the ground, which like really helps everything just create this ecosystem that you don't even have to really, you can just start harvesting and not have to
You mean like
do
all mixed together,
much.
right? But the plants are
Yeah, yeah.
growing together. Yeah.
Yep. All of it's growing together. Yep. So kind of like what you were saying, like how the agriculture as an industry, not really listening to like nature or observing from nature, kind of just going with the industry models of like what do you call it? They kind of credit Ford for coming up with it. What do they call it? When it's like, oh, this person does this, and then it goes down the line, and that person does that,
Oh,
and
trickle down economic? No.
no, it's like,
Sorry, I lost
I
you.
don't know. There's a word for it. Basically, like putting a car together. Like one person will put on the wheels, and one
Oh,
person will do
yeah, yeah,
that, and
yeah. This assembly line.
yeah, assembly line. There's another word, but I forget what it is. But, everybody kind of like thinking of business in that way. You know what I mean? Which is efficient for making a car, but when you're talking about growing food, separating the apples and the oranges and the asparagus and all that stuff, it makes it easier to pick and to be sorted out. Yeah, but does it really give back to the soil in the way that it needs to? Like, is it really benefiting nature? Just because it's faster doesn't mean that it's necessarily better.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Man, it's tragic.
Yeah. And another thing that you said that hit me too is like, yeah, like the Native Americans had it. So many native cultures had this, and like colonialism really kind of broke that like ancient wisdom because
Mm.
a lot of that wisdom was like you said, it's oral tradition. It's passed down through oral tradition. I was looking at Dave Chappelle, like he got the Mark Twain Award and they put like the ceremony on Netflix, and I watched it last night. And his mom told him that he told him about griots, and griots in African culture, the griots were like the holders of all the stories. So they knew all the stories. Like they knew all the stories, and they would pass it down to the next griot, pass it down to everyone just orally. So everyone knew that history just, from being told it. But, when things happen where you like wipe out a whole like population of people, and those stories kind of cease to exist, that knowledge kind of has a disconnect. And now we kind of have to find that knowledge all over again. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's people doing it though. It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
I do like this stuff is so hard to think about sometimes because it's painful to just witness what's happening. I do like to remember the positives that there are solutions, there are ways to do this. Like I've heard of Sepp Holzer. He's big in permaculture, and he uh, lived in the Swiss Alps, I think, and started a farm there, which is not the best, you know, not the best terrain for farming normally, but he
Yeah.
observed nature and figured out all this knowledge from scratch basically, and saw how plants and animals interacted and used that and made a really nice farm. And he sells lots of produce to people.
That's cool. What's that guy's name again?
Sepp Holzer, Seppholzer.
Add to my list.
So I think that's what keeps me going. Just the thought that it's possible to make something positive. We don't have to put up with the way things are. We can actually do something about it. I need that because otherwise it's like we're focusing on problems. We can focus on problems forever and get all caught up in despair. But
It's true.
it doesn't help me feel any better, and I don't accomplish anything by doing that because I'm just sitting here in my room thinking about it and not really changing anything. So it's not gonna help anybody if we just all we do is focus on problems.
So true. That's so true.
That's why a project like this is really appealing to me and really positive because like I get excited about it because they can do something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because it starts like this, talking about it, developing, solutions for the problem, a plan to solve the problem, you know what I mean? And this is like where that is born, and to turn this process into like an action itself. It's really good.
So what do you think people would need to know about this? Is the first thing about what we're doing?
I think people need to know that, um, well, I'll speak for myself and then you can kind of confirm or edit or whatever, but I feel that the purpose is to talk about a new way forward. Like, how can we move forward and implement, systems, or implement action that will make our world a better place in every aspect, and really talking about solving those problems and not just talking about how bad the problem is, you know? A
Yeah,
lot of conversations stop there with how bad the problem is and
yeah,
don't talk about, oh, look, because there are people out here, like you just said. What's the guy's name? Sepp Holzer?
yeah,
The guy Sepp Holzer. You know what I mean? There are people out here who are revolutionizing, who are, doing different things, who are really out here in their own way, making actions that make the world a better place. And I feel like if we can highlight those solutions and bring them to the forefront and kind of tie them all in together, we can create something as a whole. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this too. Um, everybody's people have already thought of solutions for everything. Every major
Exactly.
world problem, somebody's researched it, studied it, experimented with a solution, and wrote it down in a book. Now all that's left to do is apply it. And we do talk
Mm.
about problems a lot. I think in some ways it's easier to talk about problems because everybody can agree something's wrong. Not everybody. It's harder to agree on what to do about it.
Yeah.
And I think people do talk about that too. Like that's what all the ideologies are. Just people have all sorts of different ideas about how to go about it. And thinking about that makes me a little bit nervous too because sometimes I wonder, am I just contributing another ideology to a huge pile of ideologies? But but
I
then
mean,
there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that though.
No, there isn't, especially when your intention is to do good and to not harm anyone. I feel like you being, and I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Being cautious of kind of preaching just another ideology. I think that honestly, that's a sign of like being aware. You know what I mean? Because there
Mm,
is the other alternative where you're just preaching an ideology and not even having that thought of, analyzing, am I just out here just putting another ideology out there, the
yeah,
fact that you
yeah.
pause and say, well, am I, that is a great sign in itself, I believe.
Well, I guess I can't really pat myself on the back, but I would like to agree with you. Yes.
And that's why we need this, and that's why we need to do this, because a lot of people just like us are kind of too nervous and too afraid to kind of put themselves, or I know I am. I still am, even after
Mm,
connecting with you, even after like taking some major steps in my life to just kind of, say the things that I've been afraid to say. But I think there's a lot of people just like us that are kind of really observant and really aware, but still kind of nervous because there's not a clear path paved out for people like us, you know?
yeah. There's a lot to be nervous about. And actually, I'm really glad you said that because honestly, I'm terrified. I think that's what it comes down to. I'm so terrified that I've been having a hard time even getting in touch with it. Like, there's a I have a desire to kind of numb myself or something, like unconsciously, because it's hard to handle that. Both the importance, how important what I'm doing is to me, and and how I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just doing my best.
And that's great. That's awesome. I I don't know if you've gotten to this part in the book about like the honoring the pain, but I think like the fear that you feel, like don't be afraid to feel it. Like, you know, when you say like when you just said like you know, I want to like go numb, like take that time and just listen to it. Just go into it. Don't be afraid of it. Like just feel all the fear. Feel it all and see what you like can learn from it.
Yeah, it's difficult too because I've already spent so much time on it in the past, like really feeling that, and I don't know. I wonder if I need to go back there in order to act because my desire to act came from that. Like I've already gone through that. I've sat and thought about the state of the world and how terrible it is and how difficult it is to live in. It took me some really dark places too. But I concluded in the end that I always have this little point of hope inside me, like a little flame. I almost think of it that never lets me give up, even if I really want to. And so I decided if I can't give up, then I'm making myself miserable by like trying to suppress my feelings or trying to suppress my innate my mind's and body's innate desire to live, you know.
Mm,
So I might as well commit to it. I might as well commit to life. And if I'm going to commit to life, the only way I can really be at peace with myself is if I know I'm doing something to address all the pain I see in the world.
mm,
So that's where my philosophy comes from. Why I want to do this even though I'm terrified even as we're speaking right now. Like I'm a super introverted person, so talking, like public speaking, very unnatural for me. But I knew I wanted to do it, so like a couple of years ago I joined Toastmasters, which is a club for public speaking. You know, they say people's two greatest fears are public speaking and skydiving. But you know, it's there's still a part of me that knows I can do it and kind of enjoys it too. So it's not all bad, but it is a challenge for me. It's and
yeah.
I think somebody's got to do it. That's where it comes. What it comes down to. I'm hoping that people will see me try and maybe even fail, or like people on the internet, like you posted that Reddit post, and somebody was like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but here's all the advice." You know, if you do something poorly on the internet, people will come up and correct you, even if they don't like it. You know,
Yeah,
and if they do like it, they might come and help. So I don't have to know what I'm doing. I don't have to be brave, just brave enough to start and have a vision.
exactly.
I think that's the most important thing, having a vision, a reason for doing everything, because that's what people organize around. I guess we were talking earlier how it's easy to agree on problems but hard to agree on solutions.
Yeah.
Something that makes it easier to agree on solutions is like a values, because we can have the same values and have different strategies, different ways to meet them. So as long as we focus on values and organize around values, we can work together even if we have different opinions.
Yeah, that's true. What do you feel like would be some values that you could rally behind or stick to or feel like are like really necessary and important?
I've always valued just enjoying life, just relaxing, spending time with family and friends, playing games. If the world wasn't full of pain, that's what I would do my entire life, and I would be happy probably. I'm a kind of mellow person. I just want to chill out. That's
Yeah.
why I'm doing all this, because I just want to enjoy my life, and I can't because I know that people are hurting out there. I don't know if that's a
That's really
value
good.
or.
No, I feel like that definitely is. I mean, isn't that I mean, that's what I want. I'm not gonna lie about it. I love playing video games and watching Netflix and
Mhm.
hanging out with my family and not having to do like anything really. I
Yeah.
love relaxing. I love convenience. And I do feel like it's an important value, especially in the work that we want to be doing, because I think a lot of people think of, um, well, I mean, I know a lot of people who I've talked to, the first thing they say is like, oh, you're trying to make a commune or something. Those things never work. Or, oh, you want to be in the middle of nowhere where you don't have any plumbing or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I want comfort. I just want it to also align with the earth and not like destroy it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want it all.
I
And
like
I feel,
technology. I like
yeah,
all the stuff we have.
exactly. I want both. And I think we can. I mean, uh I think we could all work smarter together instead of harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Because
sure it would be hard and stressful to kind of get it together and get it going, but once you have that like big chunk of work done, I feel like it would be like passive income. You know what I mean?
like passive income in the sense of once we have a community going, it kind of takes care of itself. We,
Exactly.
we, we all have our role and our place, and I mean we have work to do, but it's work we enjoy doing,
Exactly.
so it doesn't feel like work. Like
Exactly.
the Yuquana tribe in South America from the book The Continuum Concept, they don't have a word in their language to distinguish work from play.
Oh, wow, that's great. I still have to read that. It's still on my docket. What's the name of the tribe again?
Yuquana, it's spelled a couple different ways. One in the book it's Yequana. But yeah, you were saying something about we don't have to work hard. Yeah, you were saying we don't have to work hard. I think that's really important because I see a lot of activists and people who want to change the world who use strategies that are really draining, that
Mm,
are easy to burn out. And I think one of the things that's important if we really want to change our whole culture is having a strategy that can include everybody,
exactly.
can include people with families and lives they might not want to give up, or they don't want to take big risks, or they just don't have the physical strength to they might not have the physical endurance to take on big challenges,
Exactly.
or they just want peace and they're like us, like the thrill of I don't know fighting a revolution or whatever maybe doesn't attract them.
I say, I've been saying to myself that the revolution needs to be, it has to be televised and it has to be comfortable. That's what I've been saying. It needs to be transparent. I think for me, one of my values is transparency.
So by
Um,
televised you mean like it's public and out in the open.
yes, exactly. It's not something happening in the shadows in order to protect itself, because I feel that that is no longer an option or a luxury. And I think to fight to be secretive is just a lost fight from the
Yeah,
beginning. I mean, when you look at like, I mean, sorry to go like whatever superficial or whatever, but look at the Kardashians. They literally built a wealth off of being just super transparent, right? They share everything, that they share their whole lives, right? And they've made a ton out of that. And hate them or love them, they have a lot of people who love them or even love to hate them, And so I feel that if you're going to build some type of a movement, or if you're going to build something like this, it needs to be transparent so that no one can twist your story. You're always the first and number one trusted source on your story, and you control the narrative. But if you're in secret, then anybody can kind of tell the narrative for you and maybe even weaponize a narrative against you and have people afraid of you. But if people see what's going on and they feel like they know you and they've known you from the beginning, then I feel like people are less inclined to be afraid.
I agree.
There's still going to be haters. There's always haters. Whenever you do anything, somebody's going to hate about it. There's going to be someone who's going to complain or say you're not doing the right thing. But you can't focus on them. You have to focus on the people who support you and want you to see you do well and get better.
Yeah, that's also true. The haters do make me nervous. I don't want to expose myself and my life to a bunch of public scrutiny, but I do 100% believe in transparency for the reasons you said, and also because that's just how you make connections, that's how you make friends, that's how you find support and resources, that's how you build a community.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of people with YouTube channels who, you know, organize people around a cause just by being transparent, just by saying what's on their mind like we are.
Yeah, exactly.
People find that, and if it resonates with them, they join and they want to help and support.
Yeah. And I feel like with transparency comes a sort of like honesty. You know what I mean? Even if you may like contradict yourself down the line, it's transparent, so it's honest. You know, everyone changes, right? We've all said something in our past that we are like, oh, don't mean that now because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I've, lived a decade more and I've matured or whatever. It's the
Yeah.
transparency that is the honesty. You know what I mean? That's where the truth is. It's not going to be perfect or
Imagine a company that
kind.
is completely transparent in everything it does. So you can like go to its website and see in the inside of the factory,
Yes.
how everything is made, how everything operates, what the employees are treated like, what they think about working
Yes.
there.
That is what I want. I'm sorry. I just have to like applaud that because that's what I want. Like when I think of like the neighborhood and the book that I dude, that's what I think of. Like being able to literally look at your food getting packaged, look at how, like you said, the employees are being treated, look at what's going into everything. Everything. Like I just feel like that would be so great. That'd be so great.
I agree.
Sorry to cut you off. I just that excited me because that's what I want.
I appreciate your excitement. It helps me feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What's another value?
it's another value. So we have, I guess we can call it ease,
Ease. Yeah, I
joy,
like that.
transparency. Autonomy is a big one.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure the best word for it. Autonomy or consensus.
Yeah.
Just
Uh,
the the,
hmm.
the idea that everybody's free to do what they want, and
Okay.
we should never force anybody to do anything.
Exactly. I think it's more than well, I don't know. Maybe I might be confused about the definition of autonomy, but I like consensus or consensual or even like freedom, I think. Like being able to do what you want, being able to leave when you want, being able to
Man,
basically
freedom is
move.
such an overloaded word now.
I know
Like,
it is.
it's a good value, but I don't know. It's kind
You're
of
right
a
about
vague
that.
word because it has a lot of definitions now.
Yeah, it's more of a yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But yeah, I think consent is good. That's a good one to me. When I heard you say autonomy, I was thinking of another value that I feel like is really important, which is like I was thinking more like self-sufficiency, like where
Mm,
we're not addicted or leaning on any type of outside source. You know what I mean? Like there should be nothing outside that we have to have. Like we should be able to operate from what we have. Like that should be the design and that should be a value. Like there should never even be down the line like, "Oh, this is outsourced or imported and is like a life sustaining thing." I just feel like because that would take away our power. You know what I mean?
that kind of makes sense. Yeah. I'm just thinking like there's always going to be some level of interdependence. We're always going to rely on the planet in one way or another, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand where does self-sufficiency fit into, like we don't want to be so self-sufficient that we close ourselves off from the rest of the world.
And I don't think we should. I think that another value is connected. You know what I mean? We should be connected to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
We should trade with the rest of the world. I'm just saying, like the bare bones of it, we should be able to depend on the land that we're on. Like where we are, we should be able to survive off of that. What I would not want is for like a big company or a utility company even to have the power to like shut off something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or play a political play or something like that
so
where
that's a more
now,
it's a more practical thing.
yeah, yeah, I just feel like the land that we're on, we should be able to use that land and we should be able to use, what has been invested in the beginning to power this thing for a long, long time. You know what I
I
mean?
think I think of that as something like a strategy because mm, if you imagine the ideal world that we want to end up in, I like to use the word utopia, but I know it's a funny word because it kind of suggests everybody's super happy all the time, which isn't true. That's not even possible. There's always going to be
Yeah.
natural disasters. But whatever you want to call it, the ideal end state, the ideal world we want to live in, there's not going to be companies threatening to cut off utilities. So that value is more like a strategic value, I guess. It's going to get us
Well,
to the end point.
yeah, it is, I guess, a strategic one because I don't really know if we're ever going to live in a world where that's not the case. I don't know. I think that, I mean, I want that, but I don't know. I still feel like in my mind there are still things that need to just be like practical, just protection things. You know what I mean? Like,
I think of it as a target. We might never reach it, but we should aim for it
yeah,
because it's going to push us in the right direction.
that's that is a noble goal, and I will adapt that in my vision. But I still want to step with caution. I don't know. I guess
Oh
in my
yeah,
head, I
absolutely.
still feel like um like if this thing actually happens, think about it, like there are going to be places that might feel threatened, institutions that might feel a little threatened as it grows, and we should kind of be mindful of that and be able to take action so that we can create what you're talking about. And I think that is
Yeah,
going to be created by developing healthy relationships and easing that transition and making those people a part of it. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah,
Um, I
that's
think
exactly
that's
what I
like,
was thinking.
yeah, I think that's like the solution to it. So, but it's
Those
still like a
institutions,
game.
we're not fighting against them. Like
Yeah,
those people can be our friends.
exactly. I feel the same. I feel the same. That's why I think that I wouldn't be opposed to, I think I wrote about this, having bigger companies, bigger corporations do the like initial investing in these places and without, taking ownership over these places, but, you know, being a part of investing in it and taking like a like a small percentage of the profit for like a lifetime where it feels like, okay, I invested in this and I'm personally getting something back from it, but I'm also a part of this thing. You know what I mean? And not to say that they have any whatever. Now I'm going like way too deep into my
Hmm.
strategic mind, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think about this all the time. But
I
yeah,
think we should definitely keep our
values.
options open.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Be
when you
flexible and
say
adapt.
when you suggest like specific ways to approach a problem, like you did, there are like we can have a whole discussion about that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that could see all sorts of flaws maybe that they perceive that would need to be discussed. Like I have my own concerns. Like I want to make sure that if somebody invests money, I don't want that dynamic to harm the project.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess strategy gets complicated, but I essentially agree with you though.
So are
The
there
the
any
the,
other
the important thing to
or
keep in mind is any strategy we're doing, we're not attached to it. It's all just in the
Yeah,
interest of our values. And
exactly.
if anybody can see a better way to get to our values than whatever strategy we're doing, then we want to hear about it.
I wholeheartedly agree with that for sure. And I think that might be another value is like listening, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Being willing to adapt and willing to like listen because I think that's something that's kind of rare now too. It's kind of like, well, no, it's not rare. I think people do. There are people who are listening, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, I feel like listening is definitely important.
We definitely see a lot of cases of people getting into conflict and in trouble because they don't listen to each other.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And even on a basic level, like I've had a lot of experiences dealing with depression, and lots of my friends have had the same experiences where, maybe we just want to talk about something or vent our feelings, and other people have a hard time providing support because they probably have their own feelings that they haven't dealt with. So, like family members might, I might start venting to one of my family members, and they'll instead of being able to be present and listen to me, they start venting to me about their problems.
Yeah.
It's because everybody's hurting.